been a little while since we caught up. So what have you been up to?
Yeah, been good. Just got back from Vegas with my dad. We were celebrating his birthday out there, which was pretty fun. And honestly, there's a couple things that we could have talked about there as well, as far as my inability to approach in front of my family. A lot of opportunities missed there because of fear of judgment, which we could talk a bit about. But aside from that, been keeping my head down, working like a dog. Late hours in the office since we have daylight savings coming up. It's getting dark early, so haven't been approaching after work. Instead, just been putting in extra hours, trying to stack up cash and get myself in a better position. So overall, just been pretty good. Yeah. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm good. I don't know if you can see the view. It's really nice over here. It's like non-stop sunshine.
Oh, right, Dubai. Wow,
Yeah.
that's
Every day
incredible.
is like so. It's like so hot. So like there's no opportunity to, like, if you want to walk around in the daytime, you're just gonna get burnt to an absolute crisp. So it's like it's hot, but it's good. It's nice. It's good being over here. I think it would be actually quite useful to just get into what you're talking about there, because I think that's quite a niche type of problem that maybe guys will face. Maybe that I think that fear of judgment is quite universal. Like, what my friend's gonna think, what my family gonna think. Obviously, you were in Vegas with your family, so that inflicted on your ability to go over and approach people. Like, what do you think was the mindset? Like, what were you struggling with?
Yeah, I've actually experienced this exact thing before in the past when out with my dad, where because and first I'd like to start this by saying it was still all me stopping myself. They weren't stopping me from approaching. It was still 100% me stopping myself. But I guess the opinion of my family, my friends, but especially my family, definitely still weighs more to me than the opinion of strangers. And I wish it didn't, but it definitely still does. Yeah, I'm sure it has something to do with the bond that we've created, the fact that if they tell people about me in a negative manner, that probably will affect me. That will have cascading effects if they tell other family members bad things about me, for example. But this is all speculation, right? So that was one big thing, was when I'm walking past cute girls in Las Vegas and I got my dad on my right and I got my 54-year-old cousin on my left. Yeah, there was just something that felt like it was inhibiting me from going over. But really, what was it? It was the fear of being judged still. Yeah, I was worried that I would walk over to the girl, I would get rejected, I'd walk back to my family and they would make fun of me, or they would tell me to stop. They would say, what are you doing walking over to that girl, this and that. And I'd have to explain myself. I really don't like doing that. And then the other piece of this was that while walking around with these two guys, I just happened to notice that they weren't the most friendly, inviting guys when we just walked through the streets of Vegas. Yeah, specifically my cousin to my left. He's one of the tough guy archetypes. Yeah, and so he's walking around with friendly guy. As soon as you talk to him, he's the friendliest guy in the room. But he's walking around with this very like menacing demeanor, and so that was part of it too. Was I had convinced myself that, oh well, since I'm walking with these guys, I don't look too friendly and inviting. That's going to affect my chances. Certainly, I'll probably get rejected right off the bat. All of this is a roundabout way of saying I was scared of being judged by my family. But these were the mental gymnastics I was doing to convince myself not to go in for the approach. And I remember that whole week, that entire 5 days, I went in for two approaches. And and to be fair, I wasn't going there to approach. I was going there to celebrate my dad's birthday. And that's exactly what we were doing. But it's just that I hold myself to a higher standard now, having built the skill set. And my default is I pull the trigger when I like the girl. And so I want to practice that wherever I am, right? So yeah, I just didn't like that I wasn't seizing the opportunities. But yeah, I mean, I think I figured out why that was the case. Yeah. So yeah, that was my experience in Vegas. Doing, I guess, not doing my approaches.
Yeah, I think that's a fair rational fear, though. I think, like, if you're walking around with your family members and you don't want them to see you like going in for an approach because they don't understand it, right? Like, if you're walking around with one of us, it's completely different. Like, we celebrate whether it's an approach that goes quote unquote well or an approach that you learn from. Like, we get it, so you can afford to fall flat on your face and have like a string of bad approaches because we're like the social safety net. But in your situation in Vegas, it's like you've got like a social fire pit. It's like you either get rejected by her or or you take a double rejection, right? Or triple rejection if you've got like your both sides. So it's like, she might reject you. Dad's like, ha, loser. And your cousin's like, oh, loser. So like you've got this like trifecta of fear going through your brain. So look, I think that's fair. We're not machines at the end of the day, and I think you have to be strategic with this. Like if you're going around a city and you're with people who are just not on that frequency and who don't understand it, sometimes it is better not to approach, because it can just make your life more difficult, and you can get more stuck in your head. And I don't think it's good to have an audience sometimes. It's like it just adds more pressure on you for the approach to something to happen. And it's almost like you try and force it. Like if the girl's just not into it, you might try and make it stay a little bit longer just so you can have a little bit more face time, so you don't look like a complete loser in front of your family. So I get it. I think that's completely fair. I think if you're going to a city with the intention of celebrating family members and approaching is just not on the agenda, I think that's a big thing with this. I think it's like the mental battle that guys play with themselves. Oftentimes we just get in our own way. It's like, okay, you set high standards. That's great. But I think like, if you're super consistent at the gym and you say to yourself, right, I'm going to go on holiday for this week, you almost just want to go all in with the original intention. It's like, are you a smoker or are you not a smoker for the week? Decide what you are, and then just be unapologetic with that ambition. Otherwise, you kind of find yourself in this weird mental limbo where you're like, oh, maybe I will, maybe I won't. I'm here with my family. I shouldn't really be approaching right now. So, yeah, I think in these situations, it's good to just be all in with one intention. And then when you get back home, you can just pick up where you left off.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was experiencing, was that like we talked about, the mental gymnastics, where the entire trip I was thinking, oh, I should be going up to these girls. I have a channel about this. This is what I've been doing for the past 2 years. Spent thousands to learn this. I need to be doing this. But wow, having this conversation makes me feel a lot better about myself. That's funny. Just knowing that that's relatable. Yeah, because I'm walking around Vegas thinking, all right, if Kristian was here, if the entourage was here, they'd be firing away. What am I doing? Right. But you're right. The reality is, not only was I there for a completely different reason, but like you mentioned, I have experienced what you're talking about, where because my dad, for example, maybe a few months ago was watching me do the approach, I'm going to try to be extra bold. I'm going to try to stay in longer and force conversation, force very menial conversation where it's clear she doesn't like me, just so that I can have more FaceTime, like you said, just so that when I do get rejected, which I can tell I'm about to, just so that I can walk over to my dad and it looks like there was more substance in the conversation than there actually was, so that I could look cooler in front of him. So that's so hilarious that you were able to put that into words for me. Yeah, it's very interesting that I can preach all day and night about how the opinions of others don't affect me anymore, but definitely they still do. Yeah, and there's still a piece of me that does have an attachment to their perception of me. It's just that when it comes to strangers, their opinion weighs so little to me, simply because I know I'll never see them again, because I know they don't care about me whatsoever. Yeah, versus a family member raised me, does care about me. I will see them again, and so yeah, like you mentioned, it does make sense to worry a bit more about my image in their eyes. So yeah, wow, I appreciate talking through that. That was great.
You're welcome. Therapy session finished. I'll invoice you. I'll invoice you my 20-minute fee. But no, I think just the point that you made there, that's being led by ego. That's being led from a place of fear. It's like, I need to do this thing to show my dad that in essence I'm better than him, right? I actually think, I was thinking about this the other day. I do think that our family, especially the family members who are closest to us, I do think they secretly want us to fail, because it gives them a valid reason to still exist. So like you have to imagine, like when you're developing yourself and you can do all these amazing things now, you've got a great job, you can approach girls, your dating life's never been better. It does trigger status anxiety within some family members, especially amongst men. Like your dad's probably looking at you and thinking, fuck, like I wish I could have done that at his age. It holds a mirror up to who he could have been. And that's when you actually do start to get a lot of status anxiety, which gets triggered. So I do think a part of our parents, I think they do secretly want us to fail, because it makes their role in our lives still valid from like a care provider perspective. So I've learned not to judge anybody anymore. Like I do my best to just not judge anybody for anything, because if I put myself into their position, like in your dad's position, for example, I could see why he would get jealous. I could see why he would get triggered, and I could see why you might be operating from a place of ego, because like, oh, I need to show my dad that I can do this. So we're all just fucking weird people at the end of the day. Like there's no right or wrong. There's no should. I think that word should needs to get eradicated from everybody's language. It's difficult because it's like we've become accustomed to using it, but there is no should. There just is. Oh, I should have done this. Well, not really. You're just a person wandering through the world, and sometimes you do things that you're not happy with, but it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. So yeah, I think that's useful. Maybe for the guys who are watching who feel as though they've got pressure on themselves at the moment to fit into a certain mold or act in a certain way. I think lead with the right intention and accept that sometimes you will just experience these weird situations of being human. So I think that's useful.
Yeah, funny. I remember actually talking to you. I think we were in Cyprus when we were talking about this in person. That concept of your parents secretly wanting you to fail, and yeah, it's a very interesting concept when you think deeply about it, and everything starts to align, and you go, "Wait a second, this actually makes a lot of sense." And I wonder if it's less about like them wanting us to fail and more about them simply just wanting to still be needed in our lives. And it just so happens that we need to be failing for that to be the case because a successful person in life is not going to need their parents after a very young age. I mean, for me, it was 18, right? 18 and I'm out of there. So yeah, and I can when we think also about human nature and like each person as an individual, that also makes sense because yes, the parent is expected to want better for the child, but in reality, the parent is still living through the first person perspective. Yeah, and so yes, they want their child to, and of course, I'm theorizing here. I don't have children, so excuse me, but in my mind, of course, they want their child. They want the best for their child, but if that means that the cost is they become irrelevant, then maybe they don't want the best. So, but then also we talked about the scenario where the parent is still like wildly successful on their own, and then they have the children, and it's like, well, if they have something going on outside of just the kid's development, then oftentimes it seems like that's a much healthier dynamic. Yeah, like, because I've had my parents tell like word for word. My dad has told me that he's living vicariously through me now, right? And that that phrase was just kind of um, like gave me a weird feeling because it was almost like I was living my life and then somebody else was living my life because they had all these expectations and these desires for me, even though I shared completely different desires, right? And so I don't know, just interesting topics. Hey,
Yeah. I think it's good to just be able to have these conversations because I think a lot of people go through life and they never really understand themselves. They never understand why people do anything. They don't know what motivates other people, and then they start to be victims. Like, oh, why is all this stuff happening to me? Like, why are my parents such assholes to me? It's like if you actually take a deeper dive into human nature, most things actually make sense. Animals responding to incentives is the best description that I've heard. Everyone just wants the best deal for themselves. Everyone wants to feel good. Like at the end of the day, that's what people want. They want to feel good and have their needs met and still feel important and not feel irrelevant. But yeah, for anybody who doesn't know who you are, do you want to give yourself a brief introduction just so people are up to date with origin story, identity, and anything else that may be relevant?
absolutely, yeah. 13 minutes in, we'll give the intro. So hello, what's going on, boys? My name is Ephraim. I run a channel called Pull University at the moment. And the reason that channel exists is because back in April and May of 2023, I flew out to Warsaw, Poland to meet Kristian for the first time. I ended up giving him some money to be one of his clients and turned into one of his friends, which was great. So we spent a month out in Poland. He taught me literally everything. And a lot of it, sure, let's say about 30% of it was mechanics and where to stand. I liked it from our last stream, where to stand. Yeah. So he was teaching me where to stand, how to stop, all of these fun technicalities that guys love to ask questions about. But then the other 70% was just inner game, was just mindset. It was just us walking through the streets of Poland and me watching how socially free he was and just watching how loud he can be in public and just trying to copy him, watching how he can talk about these dicey topics in public when normally people are scared to talk about this stuff behind closed doors. He was doing it loudly in public with me, and I was just watching that and trying to copy it and trying to understand how he was able to have this no fucks given approach to life. And when I started walking over to the girl, it became very apparent why that was the case for him. It's because when you take care of the extreme end of the spectrum, everything in between becomes child's play by comparison. And so that's exactly what I found. So I spent 30 days walking over to girls, and Kristian watched me do each and every approach, and we consulted after each and every one. tweaked each approach to get better each time. I went through tons of rejection, which he told me to expect before I met him out there. And by the end of by the end of day 2, I already had a date lined up. By the end of day 30, I already had multiple days where I had multiple dates lined up. The last day of Warsaw, Poland, when we were flying out there, you can go watch Kristian's video. I literally had 3 dates lined up, and then we were doing more approaches. So I had to like take girls' numbers down, knowing that I had no time to go on a date with them. And it was absolutely soul crushing to me. I remember even recording in the video, I was like, yeah, I'm so sad right now. I'm flooded with options, but I have no time. What do I do? And I framed it as a problem, to be funny, but I couldn't have been happier in that moment. That was the first time I had ever experienced walking over to a girl, getting a date with her in person, and then having multiple of those. Yeah, it's like there were so many first times for me. It was crazy. I came back from Warsaw, a new person. I landed back in San Francisco, started applying the skill set I learned in Poland with Kristian, and my dating life just changed. Yeah, everybody noticed it. My roommate that I was living with at the time, he commented on it. Wow, Ephraim, you got so many girls coming around all of a sudden. Blah blah blah. Yeah, he knew what I was doing in Warsaw. My dad commented on it. Now to this day, he asks me every 3 weeks, all right, son, any new stories? I'm living through you now. Any new stories? Any new chicks? It's just funny that all of a sudden, like, people know me as this guy that gets girls when literally 2 years ago, I was sitting alone at night on my bed, laying, staring at the ceiling, wondering why I couldn't get a girlfriend, wondering why I couldn't get laid consistently, going 6 months at a time without getting laid. And people were nowhere to be found then. Yeah, nobody was telling me, Ephraim, you got so many girls now, blah, blah, blah. They were just telling me that it's so easy to get girls. Just, oh, Ephraim, just go to the bar and it'll be so easy. And but they couldn't show me any evidence. So yeah, just to wrap up the intro, after a few months here in San Francisco applying the skill set, I decided I had gathered enough knowledge in this space to create a channel, and so I created one, and I've just been documenting my life ever since. I go on a date, I make a live stream about it. I do an approach that's extra bold. I do a live stream about it, and then I have my cousin oftentimes he'll film me actually walking over to the girl so you can see what it looks like from the third person perspective. And I really enjoy making the content. I think it's just a very cool angle on somebody's life, on a guy's life who chose the hero's journey, so to say, as corny as it sounds. Yeah, just the path of most resistance socially, and just what it looks like to come out on the other side of that. So yeah, that's a bit about me.
Yeah, I like looking at it like the hero's journey. I think it gives a nice narrative arc, and I think when it comes to actually getting ahead and surpassing other people, I think you put it well, like choosing the path of most resistance. Because most people these days they just want to take the easy route. Oh, let's swipe. Let's go to nightclubs. I actually went to it wasn't really a nightclub. It was more like a rooftop bar here in Dubai. I went there the other night, and I really just didn't enjoy it. I was like, I feel so much more valuable and confident and capable in the daytime. And it was a really weird shift for me because when I was like 18, 19, 20, going out for nights out, that was the way that I thought I would meet somebody. So I almost tried to force myself to like those environments because in my immediate social circle, that's how everybody else was doing things. That's how everybody else was operating, going out Saturday or Friday, Saturday night, getting blackout drunk, hoping to get lucky with some low quality four, and then bragging about it on a Sunday morning. And then I went back to like the night scene here. I was like looking around. Most people there didn't look like they even wanted to be there. Like most people didn't even like each other. It's like they were just there because that's all they knew. And I was like, it was a weird mixture of emotions that I felt. I'm just like, I'm so happy I no longer have to engage in this type of circus where like everyone's going out, they're getting drunk, they're I don't know, posturing in a certain way, try to be cool. It's very clicky as well at nighttime. It's like, who knows who? Are you a friend of this person? If you're not a friend of this person, then oh, don't talk to me. I just kind of I found the whole thing just annoying. And then I was like, I'm so happy that I invested into this skill 4 years ago because ultimately it was like investing into freedom. Whilst most people need to go to that hedonistic playground just to try and find something, I'm like, I can go anywhere, daytime when no one's expecting it. It's like the unfair advantage, just being able to see somebody, deliver your value in a non-needy way. And also I find during the daytime settings, you really get to connect with women more authentically. I find nighttime is more artificial conversations. It's usually the same thing, and it's a very high energy environment as well. And I've noticed it in myself over the years. I've almost become, I feel like an antisocial extrovert now. It's really weird. Like I go out sometimes at night. And I'm like, I don't even care about any of the people here. It's like you're almost just forced to interact with people. It's like, oh, that person's there, so I might as well talk to them. So I feel more like an antisocial extrovert now, which is actually quite nice considering I had such a strong social start to life with the whole magic. Now I'm just more selective now about who I decide to invest my energy into. And yeah, it's been a nice character transformation to me. There's just something about the nightlife. I'm just like, ugh, nah, not the one for me anymore. I don't know. Maybe I'm just getting old.
Well, yeah, I really like what you said there. You put into words what I was thinking for a while about just the nighttime environment, it being cliquey. I can
Mm.
remember one time in particular. I was out with some of the friends I played basketball with. He invited me out, and there was this one friend that he had that was that went to Stanford, right? The holy Stanford, a big Ivy League school out here. And that guy invited a whole bunch of girls and a whole bunch of people, and we had this big group of like 13, 15 of us, my friends ordering tequila punch bowls or whatever we were drinking. But I remember that entire night, same guy that made this channel with all of these date breakdowns and all these cold approach experiences. I remember there was this like this kind of a clickiness. Yeah, that's a great word to put it. This division between us, where because I wasn't one of the ones that went to Stanford, whenever I would try to interact, whenever I would try to, talk to one of these girls, and of course, still speculation, but from what I've gathered, it just felt like there was a lot of disinterest just based on the fact that I wasn't a part of the Stanford group, right? And they kind of just stuck together, banded together, and yeah, I find that in different environments as well. If I find myself in a nightclub, which hasn't happened in a while, unless I am part of a big group that's having a bunch of fun, I find it really difficult to be able to actually have the hot girl interested in me. Yeah, if I just try to walk over myself with my one friend that I walked in with, sometimes we, like you mentioned, get lucky and the girl actually is interested. But even then, I can't really have a conversation. The music is blasting. It like you mentioned, it's just a different environment. And I found that nighttime environments actually do a lot worse for my personal self image than daytime environments. Because daytime environments, although I still know I'm going to get rejected, I feel as though I can have a 10 out of 10 approach every time, and I can control everything in my power to get the girl to stop and see if she's actually interested. Whereas a nighttime environment, I just feel like I'm spraying a shotgun and I'm walking over to the girl and I'm having to yell in order for her to even hear me through the blaring music. And even then she's going, what, what? And it's like, I don't know. And to be fair, some guys probably crush it in nighttime environments, but that's just not where I focus my attention. And I'm really glad that that's not where I focus my attention because I can get a date completely sober right after the gym, having not even showered. Whereas if I wanted to do this in a nighttime setting, I've got to pretend to be friends with people. Like you said, I've got to have very meaningless conversation with people. I've got to get drunk unless I want to seem like the lame 24-year-old that's drinking the non-alcoholic beverages, which still could be fine, to be fair. But I prefer getting drunk personally. But I have to is the point. I've got to get drunk, or else I'm this weird guy that's sober in a nightclub hitting on all the drunk girls, right? And it's like it's just an environment I actually don't even prefer. And even then, it's like if something is to happen, oftentimes it happens that night. It's not like I get this girl's phone number and we actually start dating later on. It's usually this one time thing, one night stand kind of a engagement, which actually I'm not even interested in. Yeah, I'd much rather find a girl that I'm really attracted to that I can see in the long run, right, for the long term. So yeah, a very interesting environment. I I'm so glad I stumbled across daytime cold approach because that's where I would still be. I remember countless times where I'm standing, like you said, I wasn't even having fun. I was just in the nightclub because I wanted to get laid. I wasn't in the nightclub because I wanted to dance. I don't even like to dance that much, yeah. But I was in the sea of people looking around. Everybody, all the guys were pretending like we're having a great time. This fake smile on our face, fake dancing to the music. I'm thinking, oh my god, I'm hot, I'm sweaty, it's congested in here. Everybody smells bad, and I'm pretending to have fun as I'm scanning the room looking for cute girls that I could potentially approach. Yeah. And if it's before I met Kristian, then I didn't even approach them anyways. I just looked and thought, wow, they're cute. And then 3 minutes later, another guy who had more balls went over. So yeah, cold approach is the way, certainly.
Yeah, and I think it's important for guys to really understand themselves and then play to the strengths. Like, I'm sure there are guys who watch this stuff and they absolutely, like you say, crush it at nighttime because maybe for whatever reason their personality fits in better. Maybe they've got a massive, expansive social circle in that particular city that they've been cultivating over many, many years. So it's like they are the guy, they've got the relative status in that environment. So I think with all this stuff, to get an unfair advantage, it's find what you can be the best at, and then go all in with that. So if you can be the best at night game possible, then go for it. Maybe that's more suited to your personality. It's just I've noticed over the years that I've gravitated further and further away from it. I do enjoy it. I do enjoy it if I've got a big, not even a big, but like maybe like 4 or 5 like really close friends with me, and we're going out purely to enjoy the night. That's absolute dynamite. That's when I do think I prefer the night to the daytime. If I'm with just like a really good group of people and the only agenda is let's just have as much fun as possible, like you can do challenges with each other, like go and do like a really audacious open with that girl because you can get away with a lot more stuff at nighttime. You can just be more audacious and just more stupid in a good way, I guess. It's more fun that way, right? Rather than going around with like a pack of guys during the day. I don't know. It's just that has more of like a weird connotation to me. But if you go out with a really good group of guys during the night, you can have some of the best times ever. But I think purely from a strategic dating perspective, for the reasons that you mentioned, and yeah, reasons that I've learned as well, if you do want to find a high quality partner, usually she's not going to be in a grotty nightclub. She's not going to be there on the sticky nightclub floor. You're probably going to see her coming out of a museum at 1 p.m. on a Sunday, or like in a I don't know, like in a bookshop or something, looking to hashtag improve herself. So yeah, I think it's important for guys to know their strengths, know what they're looking for, know what season they're in. Like they might just be in that playboy stage now where a guy might be in his early 20s and he's like, nah, I just want to play the field. I just want to have fun. Fucking go for it. Do daytime, do nighttime, do fucking sunset time. Like the world is yours, my friend. But for the guys that I'm looking to work with, usually guys over the age of 40, they've exhausted those options. They don't want to do nightclubs anymore. They don't want to do social circle. They don't want to do social media. They don't want to do dating apps. They want a high quality approach to meet a high quality partner. And certainly in my experience, the daytime, that's where you're going to find her.
Yeah, while you're speaking, something just clicked in my brain, which is that if we just break this down to guys trying to satiate the urge, right? Guys trying to get laid, then in theory, daytime cold approach actually integrates way better into most people's lives. Like most people that are aiming to make the most money possible, to have the healthiest lifestyle possible, be in the gym as much as possible, and do other things that they love with their time. It's almost like if cold approach is not an option for you because you haven't built the skill, and nightclubs and bars are the only option for you, then sometimes I a lot of the times I felt as though I went simply because that's the only way I knew to satisfy the urge was either a dating app or a potential girl that I met at a bar or a club. And so it's almost like that can be completely eradicated if that's something you don't even enjoy. You basically never have to step foot in a nightclub or a bar again if you wouldn't prefer to, if you learn this skill set. And I never realized that, but that's actually so liberating. I think about it and I'm like, wow, the ratio of the ratio, here we go, of successes to fails that I've experienced in bars and nightclub settings to daytime cold approach is actually insane. I've gotten rejected, I mean, percentage wise, way more in nightclubs and bars than I have in cold approach. And oftentimes, at least I get a good conversation out of it, and the girl says you're handsome or something, right? So it's like this is actually a way more effective means, which we knew all along, but not just because of the result, but because of the lifestyle. Yeah, because you no longer have to find yourself in bars and clubs and environments that maybe you don't actually want to be in, because that's the only way you know to satisfy the urge. So I guess what I'm getting at is you build this skill set, you don't really have to worry about getting laid in any other manner ever again. This can kind of be your bread and butter is, hey, I'm walking to the gym, she's cute. Hey, I just got off the train going to work, she's cute. And it's like, if that's how you're lining up your dates, then yeah, you just, like you said, it's freedom. Yeah, it's kind of like when I paid you, I bought freedom. I bought myself freedom from clubs, freedom from bars, freedom from hanging out with friends I actually didn't really like, just because they gave me a better chance of getting laid because I look cooler on the dance floor when I got people with me versus alone. Yeah, so very interesting stuff.
Yeah, I think it comes down to your conditioning as well. I think like that's what it was for me. I was going to clubs because that was the way to meet people. Why did I think that? Because that's what everybody around me was doing. And at that stage in my life, I still had a skewed notion of what the thing that we do now, what it actually was. Like I think most guys stumble across this stuff during their formative years, and we kind of know like, oh, pickup, cold approach, day game, like somewhere along the lines, it starts to sink into our understanding. But then usually there's like a skewed perspective of it. That's what it was to me. I was like, oh, cold approach. I don't want to be a pickup artist. Fuck that. I'll go to a nightclub instead. And then the more I actually started to learn it, I was like, oh, now I get it. So I think it does come down to your conditioning. It's like, if the five people that you'll spend the most time with are out there hitting the streets, going hard, they've got a full-bodied lifestyle, so they're learning day game, they're not becoming day gamers, they're making money, they're going to the gym, they're taking care of their health, and they're like, nah, dude, like we don't do nightclubs, like we don't want to get like blackout drunk every weekend, like daytime is the way to go, then the conditioning becomes the normal. So that's why I think it's just so important that guys watch this type of content, surround themselves with like-minded individuals who actually get it, because I think usually we become victims of our conditioning. So like if you are going to become a victim of your conditioning, you may as well make it positive brainwashing towards something you actually want to do. So I think that's why, like I was saying before, I'm very selective now about who I decide to spend time with, because I could feel it happening to me. Like when I was in that nighttime environment the other day, I was like, if I came here every single week, my soul would slowly start to get destroyed. But like the conformity of the environment would actually make me want to get good in that space, because I wouldn't want to feel like awkward anymore. And I think that's what happens to most guys. They go to a club, they think this is the only way, and then they almost force themselves to enjoy it out of a fear of looking weird or not conforming to social norms. So it's just really interesting how almost like the whole landscape of society is almost set up to make you fail socially. I suppose it's better for society to be like, yeah, go out, get drunk, like get the first girl you meet pregnant, and then you're locked in. Then you have to get a house together. Then you have to pay mortgage and get a dog, and now you're locked into our system forever. It's like if you actually become a free, sovereign individual who's like, nah, I want to make my own money. I want to go to different places. I want to make a decision based off of abundance rather than scarcity. You just become more of a dangerous individual in the best way possible. So yeah, it's quite interesting. The more we speak about this stuff, it really does go deeper than just chatting to women.
Yeah, absolutely. And on that note, I think it's time to switch topics a bit because I came across a video from a big famous creator. I won't mention his name, but it came across my For You on YouTube. Yeah. And it was titled How to Get More Choosing Signals, 6 Best Steps or 6 Easy Steps. And the reason I wanted to bring it up, I just screenshotted the thumbnail. I couldn't even bring myself to click on the fucking video, excuse me, is because I still see that phrase as like what I said yesterday on my live stream is when I read how to get more choosing signals, I think that that is synonymous with how to get rejected less or how to make this process less psychologically painful or how to mitigate risk. That's a big one. Yeah, it's like they want to increase their odds of the girl not rejecting them because that means safer ego trip. Yeah, like safer journey for their ego. That means less ego development, or I guess less ego. What's the opposite of development? So basically, I think that guys that are looking to wait for choosing signals are still choosing a, so to say, a very passive path. Even if they think they're going to cold approach the girl once they actually get the choosing signal, I still see this as trying to allow the girl to make the first move, waiting, or I guess waiting for the girl to make the first move. They're waiting for some sort of confirmation before they can actually pull the trigger and walk over to the girl. Whereas what I have noted, and to be fair, technically that would be a warm approach anyways, because the girl's actually made it clear that she likes you. It's not even a cold approach, yeah? So it's like, the reason I want to introduce this is I just wanted to start a discussion on it and get your thoughts on it as well. But yeah, I mean, I can even predict what the steps are going to be. Yeah, they'll probably say, all right, step one, be looks maxed. Step two, body max. Step three, social circle max. Yeah, it's like, And it's almost as if these are things we should have been doing anyways. So yeah, I don't know. What are your thoughts on this?
Step 4, buy my course. Step 5, repeat step 4. Step 6, if you haven't repeated step 4, it's only 995, but I'm doing a flash sale. It's 895. Yeah, that's so funny. Yeah, buy my looks maxing course. Oh, dude, you just need to mew. That's all you need to do. You need to get a tennis ball and just chew it.
Yeah,
Chew
the
it
dog
endlessly.
exercise. Bring it back.
Yeah, like a Rottweiler, and then that's going to get you loads of choosing signals. Was there anything else you wanted to add on to that?
No, I think we'll get the discussion flowing, but I
Okay.
just want to give
Yeah.
you the floor.
Okay. Yeah. So first of all, I think warm approaching is an efficient way of going about your business. However, we never truly know if it's a choosing signal or if she just looked at us because we happen to go past her in some capacity. So like, you never know until you know. And I've always liked, even if it's not true, we make it true by believing in it. So like, just because a girl looks at me, I could err on the side of optimism or pessimism, depending on what state of mind I'm in. If I leave the house feeling super ugly and a girl looks at me, I'm like, oh my God, she's looking at me because I'm ugly. But if I leave the house and I'm like, I'm the dog's bollocks today, and she looks at me, I take that as confirmation of the belief that I've already told myself. So I think warm approaching is efficient, but I don't think you can warm approach until you can cold approach. So like with guys looking for all these choosing signals, like you say, they are trying to mitigate the risk. It's like you almost have to earn your way towards a warm approach. If you can't cold approach, and you're just depending on these choosing signals, chances are you won't approach anyway because you don't know how to approach. And even if you do approach, your approach will be shit because you've just not practiced it enough. And then the worst thing that'll happen is you get a choosing signal, you act on it, and then the girl is really frosty when you go over to her. And in your mind, you are like, oh my God, this is going to go so well. She's going to light up. She's going to want to marry me on the spot. And you go over and she's like, oh, thanks. And then walks away. So I think for guys who want to unlock this skill, you just have to start off in the trenches. You just have to eat shit for the first at least 100 approaches, just get the skin in the game, get rejected a shitload of times. Even just go out with the mindset, let's just go out and get rejected today. But yeah, I think the more you develop, yeah, sure, warm approach, it can be more efficient. But yeah, I'd take the stance now. We never truly know, unless it is like really, really obvious, like the girl is just like looking at you and like her tongue is just like hanging out. I don't know if that happens to anybody else, but hey, maybe sometimes. That's never happened to me, by the way. But yeah, I think you have to be able to cold approach before you can effectively warm approach. So there's no getting away about it. If you do want to separate yourself, then you have to just be prepared to do what most guys are not prepared to do, and most guys are not prepared to walk outside on any given day and just tell a woman that she looks great. Most guys are not prepared to do that. So that's your competition. So if you want to get ahead of the competition, you just need to be able to put your balls on the line, and you'll be all right.
Yeah, one of the things you said there that I really liked is that they're probably not going to go over anyways. That was the main thing that I was talking about yesterday on my channel. Was that's the position I found myself in when I was 19 years old, 5 years or 4 years before even meeting you. Is I thought that all this red pill dogma I was watching at the time, I was consuming it, and they told me wait for the choosing signal. Once you get the choosing signal, oh, then you act on it. Blah blah blah. And the problem is that when I finally was faced with these aggressive choosing signals, I won't get into the full story, but one time I remember in a grocery store where this girl couldn't have made it any more obvious, passing me in the aisles and looking at me and smiling at me and all the full nine. And I could not bring myself to say a word to this girl until the checkout line. And even then, I only said a few sentences, and then I was hoping that she was still loading her groceries into her car when I left to the grocery store, so that I can maybe finally muster up the courage to ask for her number. And it's hilarious because that was the moment that I was waiting for. Yeah, that was the exact moment that I was preparing for by binge watching all of this YouTube rabbit hole or red pill rabbit hole content. Yet when faced with the opportunity, I still could not seize it. I still couldn't act on it because I was incapable. I had never walked over to a girl. I had never effectively flirted with a girl or at least a stranger. And so I just didn't know what to do. I didn't know what to say. I didn't know how to say it. I didn't know how to stand. Yeah. And so I the reason why I wanted to bring this topic up is exactly that. I was hoping that we would come to the same conclusion on that. I don't think guys are going to act on those choosing signals anyways, yeah, unless they've actually put in work into themselves in this space, unless they've actually put in reps, walked over to the girl when she didn't even look at them, or maybe she gave them kind of a frosty look, like you said. If you can do the extreme end of the spectrum, then everything in between takes care of itself. But if you are trying to pussyfoot your way up to this extreme end of the spectrum, then I think the opposite is true. Like you mentioned, I think you're going to be faced with the choosing signal, and just like 19-year-old Ephraim, you are going to do all of these mental gymnastics. You'll take this roundabout route to convince yourself that she wasn't actually looking at you, she wasn't biting her lip at you. I mean, the girl could flash her tits at you, and you, oh, she was probably doing it to the guy behind me. Yeah, and it's like all of this because you have not gotten over your fear of rejection yet. Yeah, so that's why. Just like when we were in Poland, and I told Kristian, dude, make this as hard as possible for me. Like, push me into the hardest approaches possible. Simply because I understood that if I could take care of the hardest stuff, then everything in between will sort itself out. So yeah, that's all I had to say on that topic, and I'm glad that we talked about it because it sounds like we have similar beliefs on the need for choosing signals. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the important thing with cold approach is cold approach teaches you how to lose, and you have to learn to lose before you can win. That's the main thing. If you're trying to find the perfect way to go into that conversation, usually guys fall in love with the fantasy as opposed to reality as well. So it can feel really nice for your ego to be getting all of those looks, and oftentimes because the point of the ego is self-preservation, you just stay marinating in that fantasy, thinking, "Oh my god, I'm getting choosing signals. This is so nice," and like the action forces you to potentially burst that bubble of fantasy and find out if your theory is actually right. So it's easier to stagnate in theory because then you can leave with your ego intact. But if you do actually want to live a great dating life, you have to learn how to lose because you're gonna lose so many times. But then that makes the victory sweeter. But I think that's like the thing that I think people need to take away. Like there isn't any getting away around it. Like you can buy your $997 course, you can go into your little community, you can watch all the videos, but at some point you just need to get that cold hard slap in the face. And you need to have the realization that not every woman is going to be attracted to you. Even if you've got all of the choosing signals, she just might be playing with you. She might just do it being like, oh, I'm going to give this guy loads of looks. He's never going to come over to me anyway. Oh, he's come over to me. Oh, I don't find you attractive. I've got a boyfriend. So like, it just is. And I think that the sooner that guys can learn to lose and just take their egos out of the situation, which is difficult, I think, for a lot of guys, then you do become free because like this is either going to go really well or I've got a funny story. That's the best mindset to do any sort of approach. It's either going to go really well or I've got a funny story. And yeah, I think that's fair.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up ego because the need for choosing signals, guys passively waiting for choosing signals, is almost the opposite of what the point of cold approach is. The point is to pierce through the ego, right? Is to tear the ego down because that allows us to be actually more authentic in public versus this facade that we're trying to portray to society. And waiting for choosing signals like directly opposes that mentality, that philosophy. Yeah, we're telling you run towards the rejection. Walk over when you know you're going to get rejected. Yeah, we spent days in Poland and Cyprus, and I'm walking over to girls when I already know before walking over that I'm going to get rejected. Yeah, a party of 6 that they're celebrating one girl's birthday, and I'm pointing out the birthday girl and saying, "You look so great." I already know they're not going to stop for me and wait for us to have this 7-minute conversation while they wait to proceed to the birthday party. No, I knew I was getting rejected. That wasn't the point. The point wasn't I need to secure a date from the birthday girl. The point was I need to tear down my ego. Yeah, I need to show myself that I'm allowed to do this. I'm even allowed to do it when it's 6 girls celebrating a birthday party. I'm even allowed to do it when it's a mother walking with her daughter. Like, I just need to prove to myself what is possible. I need to prove to myself I'm not going to get pepper sprayed so that by the time I come back to San Francisco, I can do these audacious approaches because I've done them before. I've proven to my psyche that I can do it and come out the other side okay. So if I'm waiting for these choosing signals, then I'm not proving to myself that this is okay. I'm actually doing quite the opposite. I'm proving to myself that I need to wait for a signal before I can take action. And that's still like giving up the power. Yeah, it's like cold approach is about taking your power, taking your freedom. You're still giving it right back. You're giving your freedom right back by saying, I can't take action until this girl gives me a signal. Fuck that. Cold approach is I take action anyways. I go over anyways, regardless of how I feel, regardless of if she looked at me or not. And then to substantiate these claims, I've got a channel full of date breakdowns where 90% of these women didn't even see me before I walked over to them. I might have been on the other side of the street. I might have been in the bike lane, skating past them. They didn't even know of my existence before they saw me and I said, excuse me. But yet they ended up going on a date with me that same night. Yeah. And so it's like that just that just completely wipes out the entire argument that you need to be waiting for choosing signals. The reality is you're scared just like we all are. Yeah. So if you can just learn to deal with the fear, it'll be so liberating. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's one of the main reasons why I like cold approach, because it almost allows you to meet women that you weren't allowed to meet. Because if I look at how most people are meeting, it's like friends of friends. So it's like you were allowed to meet each other, or nightclubs. It's socially accepted. You met in a club or on a dating app. It's like, you were kind of like, I don't know. It's like you were almost allowed to meet to some capacity. But with cold approach, it's like you're seeing someone who's on a completely different life path or trajectory to you, and you're bypassing all the bullshit. You're going over to them, and then it's like otherwise you never would have met that person, because you've got all of the resistance, you've got all the stories in your mind, maybe pressure from your friends, your family telling you not to do that because it's weird in some way. So it's like if you can bypass all the bullshit, it allows you to unlock a dating life that you're almost never allowed to have. It's like, you were born and you're just like, sit here, do this, ask permission when you're allowed to go for a shit. And most people are following that path, like just following orders from people, like what they're allowed to do, always craving and asking for permission. But with this skill, it does allow you to take control. It's like, I'm not going to settle for the status quo. I'm not going to accept what's been given to me. I like her over there. I'm going to go talk to her. And then it, if you do eventually start dating one of those women, she becomes your long-term partner, it just creates more satisfaction in that relationship. It's like, yeah, against all odds, above all else, I made that happen, and that's truly satisfying. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it attracts a certain type of guy. A guy who's not prepared to just settle and marinate in the matrix of mediocrity. A guy who wants to take back control. Yeah, I think it becomes an attractive discipline for that type of character.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, I'm gonna
So,
put my light on. You're just gonna see a walking shadow for a little while. I'm sorry. You might want to start speaking.
what'd you call me? No, I'm kidding. All right. Maybe we'll keep it more PG. I forgot we're live. It's funny is right before you said that, I was going to say, all right, we're 46 minutes in. So what's the title again? Let's start on the topic.
I think we kind of addressed. I think we addressed that.
Yeah, I actually didn't even see the title, but I'm glad that we've been talking about these topics either way. So, what about you probably already spoke about this on your channel, but maybe there are some topics we could talk about together. Your time in Dubai and what you learned at the mastermind. Yeah, is there anything that maybe we can tie into the title or something related?
Yeah, I think that when I put this title together and thinking about how guys can get ahead in life, I think it comes down to truly just starting to invest into yourself as a human being. And that doesn't necessarily mean, oh, by the way, come and join me, get coaching from me. But it's like, I think most people, they stay static. So it's like their education will stop once school has finished or university is finished, and they no longer continue to educate themselves. So I think that getting ahead in dating, in whatever, it's just this constant obsession with progression, like just wanting to get better every day, whether that's learning more about gym, health, nutrition, whether it's going out and doing cold approach or dipping your toe into night game or traveling to new locations. I think always having this like thirst for knowledge and wanting to get better every day, because like no matter what city I go to, whether it's Dubai, Bangkok, Barcelona, whenever I walk out on the streets, I look at like the competition. Like the competition is really not trying. Like most, let's just say 30-year-old guys have checked out. They haven't taken control of their life. They've made bad decisions. They're a victim of their own circumstances. So I don't know. I just think just having this constant desire to want to get better, wanting to improve, surrounding yourself with people who are better than you. I don't know. I think that is the way to get ahead. Just constantly wanting to get better. Like when you came over to Warsaw, like that was a desire because you wanted more for yourself. Like you wanted to improve. You wanted to be with someone who had a skill that you wanted to unlock. I don't know. I just see that is lacking from a lot of guys these days. It's almost like they've just accepted what they've been given. It's like they regret the past, they dread the future, and I think if you want to get out of whatever rut that you're currently in, you just have to keep just like pushing every day, just invest in yourself, read a book or watch a video, go out, speak to some people. Otherwise, I think you just fall into this complacency, and then it's like you get to 35 and you're like, what the fuck have I been doing?
Yeah, and while you're talking about this, it's starting to connect the dots about my experience getting laid off for the first time from my programming job. And So this was right before I reached out to you. I had gotten laid off from my first ever programming job. That's when I ended up reaching out to Christian. And so, of course, in hindsight, I'm going, thank God I got laid off. That allowed me the time to reach out, first of all, find Christian's content, then reach out to him and actually fly out to Warsaw for a month. So, of course, in the moment, oh my God, I got laid off. Oh no. And then in hindsight, I'm so thankful for it. But the reason I'm bringing this up is because I actually found myself in the exact opposite position that Christian's describing about obsession with progression, which is I was obsessed with progress up until about 23 years old, or I'd say about 22 years old. I'd done a bunch of difficult stuff, including funny enough, being in the pyramid scheme and doing these what we'd call approaches, I guess, trying to recruit people into my business and make money off of them. So that was a lot of social growth going on there. There's a lot of door knocking for selling products too, unrelated to the pyramid scheme, and cold calling. I had a sales job, and then a programming boot camp. Yeah. And once I got on the other end of that programming boot camp and I got my first ever 6-figure job where I was fully remote and I had this new spot in San Francisco with my roommate and everything was comfortable, I found myself, just like you mentioned, just feeling so complacent and so cozy in my position that I lost everything. Yeah. And so at the time I had literally like 30, 40 grand in the bank that I had saved up over the years. I was making $115,000 a year at 22 years old. I thought I was the shit. And I had this real good setup with my roommate. And I thought we were going to go out and get so many girls. Wow. Because we were these young dashing guys who convinced ourselves it would be so easy. Yet, as the weeks and the months went on throughout that lease term, I started showing up to my remote job late, where all I had to do is wake up at 8:59 and open my laptop. But somehow I'm showing up at 9:05, 9:10, late to meetings, forgetting to join meetings. Part of this was I was taking bong rips right next to my laptop, just really taking life and everything that I had worked for granted. Yeah, it's funny looking back on it, but like now I'm thinking about it, I'm going, what was I doing? I had everything. I had the exact setup I needed to live an international lifestyle, and I chose the path of least resistance. Once again, I chose. Oh, I'm gonna do the minimum work necessary to keep this job. Yeah. Whereas that's the opposite of my approach to life. My approach to life prior and now for sure is no. Let me just do the most possible so that I can get ahead the most. But yeah, I don't know. It's just like the more I gained back then, the less I cared, about keeping it, the less I appreciated it. And yeah, it all came crumbling down. And I think that was just a huge life lesson for me. Yeah, it's just like the complacency is basically death. Yeah, it's like feeling comfortable with where you're at, feeling satisfied. It's great to feel satisfied in individual moments in time, but just feeling satisfied as a whole it's so destructive. It can take a guy who's living that lifestyle and turn him into an unemployed guy who loses all the money in the bank. And the one thing that came out of that, the one good thing that came out of getting laid off was coming across Christian's content. So of course, now in hindsight, right, I'm looking back, I'm like, yeah, I wish I wasn't screwing up on the job, but thank God I screwed up on the job because I wouldn't have come across your content. So I mean, in hindsight, it seems as though it was written and it's going just how it's supposed to. But yeah, that's just a lesson I had to learn in real time. I needed life to just punch me in the face for me to learn how to appreciate what I had and you know, uh, learn how to work for something and then keep it. Yeah, not just and get complacent. I thought I'd be working that job until I literally retired. I was like, oh, this is easy. I'm just gonna be pretending to code, taking bong rips on the side, going out to throw the football with my roommate, and this is gonna be so easy. I'm just gonna be making 6 figures and nobody cares. Everybody says tech is easy. I don't have to work. And it's just an unhealthy mindset. So I'm glad I'm
Yeah,
past that.
I think that's one of the cognitive biases that we have, where we think that what we want now is what we're always going to want. And I think that one of my friends was like, "We you like most people become a new person every 10 years." I think with people such as ourselves, I feel as though I become a new person every month. But I think that that's when relationships can actually struggle, because the person that you get into a relationship today is not going to be the same person who you're in a relationship 10 years from now, because you're not going to be the same person 10 years from now. That's why most people fall into relationships with strangers, because they don't have the foresight to understand what I want right now might not be what I want forever. So if you're a 23-year-old kid and you think that nightclubs are the way to go for the rest of your life, you're like, oh, I've met this great girl. She's my first girlfriend. She's going to be the one. that's probably not going to be the case. Like she's probably not going to be the one. There's probably going to be lots of ones. So I think sometimes abundance can be a bad thing as well. Like you're saying, you know, at that age you had money, everything was going well. It's like this is going so good, it must be bad. It's like you can have too much of a good thing, and it can become destructive because it makes you lazy. That was the reason why I started to do Muay Thai in Bangkok, because I knew that if I didn't find an outlet, like I knew if I didn't find something new to challenge me, where I could feel like a beginner again, I could feel shit, I gave myself a new discipline where I could suck, then it would have been easy for me to just be like, well, I really don't need to do anything today, so I can just chill in Thailand. And that's where I saw most people go, like in Bangkok. In Bangkok, you get guys who are super locked in and they're really focused on building something amazing, or you'll just get like the guys who are there to just do as little as possible, chill, like not really make anything. And it was interesting to see. So I was like, I need to create a challenge in my life, otherwise I don't think it would have happened to me because of everything that I've built. I've got too much sort of expectation and pressure on myself now to want to keep hitting a high standard. But I knew that I needed to introduce something new into my calendar. So for me, it was doing Muay Thai. You reached out to me. You wanted to learn call approach. Yeah, I think that's when it does become like deeper than just meeting women. It's like, what can I do to satiate my soul? Like, what can I give to myself that is going to challenge me and make me want to become better every day? Because if not, it is just very easy in the modern world. Like everything is easy, everything's comfortable. Oh, I'm hungry, great, get on Uber Eats. Oh, I'm lazy, great, get a taxi. Oh, I'm bored, great, get on Netflix. It's like everything. We live in this age of immediacy. So I think doing something like learning to fight, going outside, learning cold approach, learning a new skill like sales and knocking on doors. Most people now just don't have the capacity to do it. First of all, because most people can't concentrate. Most people don't actually have the mental bandwidth anymore because it's so like instant gratification, like endless, infinite scrolling on TikTok. So I think if you can really just push yourself and just be that person who decides to learn a really hard skill and just stick with it and just don't quit, then you'll torch all your competition. You really will.
Yeah, and it seems like such a very simple mental gap to bridge. Yeah, it's like if I want a dating life such as this, I put in. I mean, you're offering what now? Weekenders with access to the entourage. Well, actually, doors are closed, but I guess most recently you were offering, I think, a week coaching session and then a year access to actual coaching with you, but in person a week or so. And it's like, guys would not trade a few dollars and a week of their life to get on the other side of learning what to do and having a good dating life. It actually just blows my mind. I mean, for me, it was 1 month of work. In reality, it was 2 days of work because by day two, we're already lining up dates. But it was 1 month of work and a few $1,000s for me to go from a guy that was going to sleep dissatisfied every single night to a guy that probably is never going to experience true sexual frustration for the rest of my life, or maybe until I'm 80 and my Johnson falls off. Who knows? But I mean, guys wouldn't trade a few thousand. It just, yeah, it's absolutely mind blowing to me. I mean, and to be fair, a lot of this could be that they can't see the light quite yet. But for me, I just knew that at 22 years old or 23 when I had reached out to you, up until that point, I had tried so many options, so many different ways of meeting girls and the mass Instagram DMs and all of the dating apps. And, maybe I exhausted all my options earlier than most guys, but it was very, very clear to me that this was the way as soon as I saw your content, because all I thought was, if this guy can get a girl in or get a date, excuse me, in this manner, then of certainly he could teach me how to do at least half of what he does. If I could just get it half as good, I could probably line up dates. And that's exactly what happened. Yeah, I just copied you. I copied your entire structure, your entire approach. At first, I copied exactly what you even said. And, I tweaked the approach as I went. And by the time I got back to San Francisco, my problem was solved. Yeah, it's like guys will spend 3 years trying to solve this problem. And I spent 1 month and it was solved like that. Yeah. Not saying it's easy, but the process is actually very simple. You put in your reps, you get better over time. You learn what to do, what not to do. You learn what what you like, your style, your flavor, your way of banter and whatever. And yeah, I don't know. It's just it's hard for me to believe that guys will go years without solving their problem. I wonder if they almost like their problem to an extent.
Yeah, maybe. I think comfort it becomes the usual, right? So it's like change is difficult. So most people don't want to do. But to be honest, I've actually stopped trying to convince anybody why what I do is so fucking good, because I just know the right people, they don't need convincing. Like, you didn't need any convincing. Joseph didn't need any convincing. The guys in the group, they don't need convincing. They already know. So it's like anybody who needs to be persuaded, as far as I'm concerned, they've not connected the dots in their mind. So like whenever I sign up to stuff, like I'm out here in Dubai, $15,000 done. Where do I sign up? Give me the link. Boom, done. Let's go. Like business mentoring, anything. It's like I am the easiest person to sell to in the world, because when it comes to a sales conversation, I'm already sold. All the person needs to do is send me the link, and I'm there, because like I've already connected those dots. So it's like it's the people who are on the fence for like 5, 6, 7 years. They were never going to pull the trigger anyway. And it's a waste of time, me even trying to convince these people, because oftentimes they want to be convinced, but not prepared to do anything once they've been convinced. So yeah, that's why I market my services now. Entrepreneurs, business owners, busy professionals, high achievers, because usually these guys get it. Like, I'm an entrepreneur, I own a business, I understand that. If I want to improve a skill, I find someone who's got the skill, I pay them money, and I learn. That's how you learn anything, right? Language, fitness, Muay Thai. You find people who've got the skill, you pay them, you get the skill, then you move on with your life. So yeah, I don't try and convince people anymore. I don't need to justify anything. It's like I know what I'm sat on is absolute dynamite, and if people can't see that because they've not connected the dots yet, then so be it. That's fine. But yeah, I think me, even just business advice to you, like whenever you're on the phone with somebody, it's like, yeah, but what am I actually going to get for this? It's like, dude, if you need me to convince you, then you were never going to be right for me anyway. So yeah, a lot of people are just they say they want things, but they don't want it. They're just dreamers. They're guys who just enjoy. Oh, this would be nice. Oh yeah, maybe I'll do that. There is no maybe about it, right? It's your life. You get one shot at this, and you're just gonna piss your time away in some mental lethargy where you're dissatisfied. You know your life is shit, but you're not doing anything about it. Then fucking good luck to you.
Yeah. Wow. I like that. I say we end on that note. I don't think I can add anything more official
No,
than
I
that. I
don't think
agree
so.
with
I
all
think I think that's gonna
that.
be. I think that's.
I
I
think
think that's
that's
gonna be
mic
difficult
drop,
to beat. To
dude.
be honest. Yeah,
I don't
yeah.
know if I'm topping
Um,
that. No, that was that
where can
was that was
people? Where
solid.
can people? Where can people find you? Where can they consume all of your material, like
Oh
a
yes.
content leech?
Yes, of course. If you'd like to know how to stand when talking to the girl, then come over to my
What's the
channel.
best? What's the best open? I've been trying to
Yeah.
search the internet for the best open. Do you know what the best open is?
Yeah, it's hi. Are you French? That's all you got to say to the
Ah,
girl. She'll crack wide open. That's all you need to
what
say.
if I've not had a choosing signal yet? Should I
Oh,
still
then
approach?
no. Well, probably I'd say in that case maybe just spend a year or two looks maxing, and then you should get
Yeah.
all the choosing signals you require.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I think I need more theory.
yeah. Don't worry, I got plenty of that on my channel. Yeah.
Oh, well,
Speaking
amazing!
of,
What's your channel called?
speaking of, yeah, Pull University is my
Okay,
channel,
I'll
and
subscribe.
yeah, get all the theory you want, certainly.
Okay.
Um, yeah, my earlier days, I actually did post a lot of just different topics. Like I guess I put my own spin on a lot of red pill topics that I watched in my development. But nowadays, it's more so just documenting. I know last time I called it a documentary channel,
Yeah,
like
you did.
National Geographic nowadays. Yeah. But instead of jaguars in the wild, it's Ephraim in the wild. And I walk around. I walk over to girls that I like. And yeah, I just show you what it's. I just give you a very authentic view of what this lifestyle looks like, what it looks like when you've gotten over this fear, and I show you everything. I love to show you the rejections because that is a very integral part of this entire process, and so that's why I don't cut out the rejections. I make sure to include them so that you can see that this is what you're going to need to go through if you want to live a dating life such as this. You're going to need to go through a lot of undesirable outcomes to get the outcome that you do want. So yeah, that's where you can find me. And then the other place is the Entourage. So when doors open, I highly suggest that you submit an application. I know doors are closed right now, but when Christian starts accepting new guys to work with, I mean, it's just the most life changing group I've ever been a part of. We're planning a group meetup for God's sakes in Spain next year. Finally, I'm going to get to meet a lot of the guys that I've been talking to on a daily basis for the last
Are you
year and a
actually? Are you
half.
100% coming to that?
Oh yeah, I'm coming. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh
I'll be
wow!
there for sure.
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't know if you were like 100%.
No, I'm finding a way there. Definitely. I mean, I that's priority number one. I want to meet the guys. I want to have what could be more valuable than a 5-day experience with the guys in the entourage. You know, I mean, I can miss 5 days of work for that. Yeah. I'm coming to that. So
That is the exact spirit. Why this is why you will go far. I'm like, I didn't know you were coming. You're like, I will find a way.
yeah,
Don't do your best. Do what is necessary. I will find a way. That's how you achieve things in life. You just find a way. That's
yeah,
it. You find a fucking way and you make it happen. That's why you should go subscribe to him.
yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. So I guess we could end it off there. I had a great
Yeah,
time though on the stream, but
excellent.
absolutely, I'm coming to that meetup for sure.
Superb. Looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll see you in a secret city in Spain. Confidential. Amazing. All right. Well, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it. Yeah. For everybody who's watching, go over to Epim's channel. I'll leave your links in the title and the description so people can go over, watch your stuff. And we'll do it all again another time. Thank you again for your time.
You got it. Stay sexy.
Yeah, we go.